there's a wind farm in process of being built within this forest. So we've not been able to stalk it for about 8 to 9 months now because the work's going on. They basically cut big circular pads out of the trees, and then that's the site ready for the wind farms that are going to start growing. So while the work has been in the main sort of area of the forest, we've not been able to come on for safety reasons, but now we got into long daylight hours. It gives us an hour before the contractors start to arrive, so we want to go and have a look because the forest manager's commented about the number of deer. So we're just going to go and check it out actually, and I want to see how the work's progressing, make a bit of a plan for when we get back on here. So it's a bit of a recce this morning, so I've really got no idea what the situation is here because we've not been for 9 months. So that's the plan. We shall go and have a look. Okay, so we're a little bit restricted now because there's only really a couple of points of access to the forest, and the wind was blowing up our arse from both ways in. So we've come through the working site. It's an exclusion zone for stalking. So a sod's law, typically the deer are all along the road browsing on the fresh vegetation that's just growing where they've done the work, but we can't shoot there because there's all the porta cabins and the security staff. So we're restricted to actually shooting in a very limited area, which is where we are. So the deer are all where we can't shoot, so hopefully now we can find one where we can. A couple of nice bucks on there, which hopefully you've seen on camera. So we've basically done a big loop round. We're now actually working back towards the car. For the first time we've got the wind, so this is where she comes into play. So I'm just letting her work in front of me on here. The moment she picks any indication of deer up, then hopefully we'll find one. We've got a chance if it's the right sex, but that's the plan. So it's a bit frustrating that we have to come around, but at least it's given us a chance to recce where the work is. They're quite well on with it, so hopefully before too long we can actually get back on here and start to do what we're supposed to be doing, which is protecting the young trees which are on that working site. It's a bit bizarre really that they pay a grant scheme and all this money to plant the forest up, and then they come and rip it all up again. But anyway, we'll not get down the politics road. She's picked something up now, pulling forward a little bit. You see her nose keep going up and down as she's testing the air. She'll keep looking back. Could be delayed So lovely start. I really enjoyed it this morning. You're just coming down this valley, it just oozes deer. We were just commenting, it's surprising, I haven't seen anything buck of fraying around the edge. But it's a nice bit of hawthorn and scrubby willow down here, and we just picked up a movement in the trees. And then after a little while I could see it was a buck, but he's got no shot. And then he came to stand kind of right behind a little hawthorn bush, and I had him on the inner sight, but again I don't be shooting through vegetation, but he just stepped clear of that stone and gave me a nice little, just got the basically no head, but the vitals were just nicely clear. So it's a nice buck actually. Obviously patrolling, marking his patch, but a really good sort. It's gone real still now. We've picked a window, we're towards the edge of this valley, the car's not that far away from here, so we're reasonably easy recovery. But Zosha knows she's getting kidneys, so she's keen to be going finding this deer. Good girl. Good girl. Good buck to take actually. A lot of potential for damage. When you've got a long kind of thin antler like that, they can often cause quite a lot of damage. So yeah, summer coat now, still slow. They're slow to change into summer coat this year. I think that's largely because of the colder weather we've had. It's been dry but cold. Decent coronets on him. That's a good buck to shoot. Massive, never actually moved from the spot. Massive blood loss straight down. He'd actually been couched, there's a couch there, so he was probably just got up, started to mark his patch. Really handy because we've got a lovely tree here now for suspended growlock, and short distance to get back to the car, which is just there. So walk 17 miles from the car and shoot a deer 100 yards from it on the way back. I sometimes wonder whether they just get out of the car, have a cup of coffee and then go shoot the deer, but anyway, there you go. This is where I require my lovely assistant, Roberta. Thank you, darling. Oh, God.
This evening I'm going to be out after a few rabbits, and I'm taking out the HIKMICRO Thunder. This is the new improved version 2 of the original Thunder. As you can see, there's a few little subtle differences about it, such as the battery. This one comes with a small internal battery rather than the 18650, which just pops out like so. And it comes with 2 of these rechargeable batteries, so a couple of them is going to give you a good night's shooting. The scope itself is a thermal scope. It's an entry-level thermal scope. It's primarily aimed at rimfire and air rifle use, so it's got a usable kind of range, I would say, of probably about 100 yards, somewhere about there, certainly for rabbits and such, sort of like small game like that. So ideal for close range ratting, rabbiting, maybe even a little bit of foxing if it was in close. Is also nice and easy to use. So you've got 5 buttons on the top there. The first one's your power button. That obviously just powers up the unit, which comes on in around about, I think it was about 5 to 7 seconds, something like that, for the initial start up, and just for it to kind of sort its life out before it actually was usable. That also has a standby feature, so you can just a short press, or quick press of that drops it straight into the standby, and then again short press brings it straight to life. Next button back is the colour palettes, so that allows you to swap between white hot, black hot, red hot and fusion. So there's your 4 colour palettes. Moving further back is the camera and record button, which incidentally has got 4 little raised dim pits on each of the corners, and that makes it a lot easier to find in the dark if you want to record something. And a short press does a still image, and a long press then starts and stops the recording, which saves to an internal memory. It's also got a recoil activated record function. And moving back onto the next button, we've got the menu button. A short press of that brings up a little sub menu which allows you to adjust brightness and contrast, and then a long press brings up the main menu where you can access all your features. And then finally, the button on the end here nearest the eyepiece is the magnification button, which allows you to step up through the magnification, and it's also got a PIP version, of picture-in-picture mode, so that's quite handy because you can keep the widescreen and have a more magnified image in the smaller box. As you can see, the scope's nice and compact, got built-in lens cap on the front there, and front focus, rubber eye cup, and then your eye focus there. Very easy to use, very intuitive menu system, easy to navigate through, simple button function on the top there. Everything's all just very positive and very straightforward little scope to use. And bearing in mind that this scope retails for around about £1,000, I reckon that's quite a lot of scope for the money. So that just gives you a very quick rundown of the scope. So let's get it zeroed, and then we'll take it out and see if we can find a few bunnies. For zeroing purposes, I've just got a standard bit of kitchen tin foil and taped it to a box, and that stands out quite well in the thermal scope. Right, so as you can see, we're somewhat high, or a few inches high, and slightly, probably about a ½ inch or so off to one side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use that, which is another bit of foil there, and a bit of tape, just to indicate where the shots have gone, and then have another go. Right, well, there's our rectified shot, so that's perfect, and as you can see, a couple of nice headshots on the rabbit. So I think we're good to go. When we went out that little bit further, we put the targets out at 50 metres, then the image does start to get a little bit blurry, particularly on the high mags. But let's be honest, it's a £1,000 scope. It's designed for air rifle and rimfire use, so probably the majority of your shots you're going to take are going to be, if you're ratting or something, then you're 20-30 yards. Rabbiting 50 yards, 50 metres, something like that, maybe a little bit further, 60-70, but I'm sure it would cope with that just fine. So I think you know, for what it's designed for, it certainly does the job. Well, just after dark, I've got out with my mate Gary, and we went round one of his permissions just to have a look for a few rabbits, and it didn't take all that long before we found a few. Unfortunately, a lot of these areas the grass was quite long, so a lot of these shots were taken just from a kneel-in position or freehand, so that sort of is why it's a bit shaky on some of the footage. So after having a bit of a wander around, we end up moving a bit further down the bank where we're shooting slightly uphill, and the grass is somewhat shorter here, so it makes it a bit easier to get clearer shots and more steady shots. Just above this rabbit warren here, we're getting rabbits coming out, and I shoot 3 or 4 here which are out at around about 60 metres, so that's about 65 yards, something like that. A couple a little bit further around about 70. And finally here, I take one that's right out further on the bank at 90, I think it was about 92 metres, so just over 100 yards. And then finally, just around the even off, we bump into a fox. This fox was out on the bank, curled up, about, I think I walked out to about 55 metres from it, so again about 60 yards, and I was quite able to just put a shot straight into the side of the head and kill that cleanly. At the end of the evening we ended up with 27 rabbits and a fox, and I think that just goes to show really for an entry-level thermal scope the HIKMICRO Thunder is certainly capable of doing the job.
If you aren't a member of BASC, it's time to join now. BASC, looking after your sport, looking after you.